The murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis and other incidents have led to protests against racial injustice and police brutality all over the United States and in more than 30 countries around the globe. Now, many employers are using this crisis to think creatively about racial bias in the workplace. Pleased to welcome to the show this week Ice Miller Associate Charles Bush II with more on what employers should be thinking about as they seek to address race-related issues in the workplace. And Charles, again, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Gary.
First of all, I want to get your perspective because as an African-American, you found yourself in a unique position as events began to unfold and you were advising clients on racial bias issues and other issues related to that. Give us your perspective on what that process was like as things began to unfold.
Right. As things began to unfold, I was, like many people, looking at social media, watching the news, and I saw the anger and the outrage across the country and across the world, really. And then I thought to myself that many of these people that were protesting, that were angry, if they were lucky enough to still have their job during the COVID-19 pandemic, they were going to work and they were still angry and they were still mad and still traumatized. So I thought, what are employers doing at this point in time to help those employees? So I found myself in a unique situation where I was, one, an African-American man, and then two, an attorney that advises businesses and employers on employee-related issues. So I thought an article just speaking to employers about a little bit about education about what people may be going through, and then a little bit about some practical steps that they can take to help employees was warranted.
Yeah, Charles, talk about, because employers of all sizes, large and small, are dealing with these issues, and it's really an opportunity, I think many think, to address these issues. As you look at things that companies should be thinking about as they address potential racial bias and other issues in the workplace, what are a couple of the things they really should keep in mind?
I think they should keep in mind, one, that this issue is really about human beings that are coming to the workplace that are not feeling great right now. And how can they help those employees? How can they help those employees be productive? How can they help those employees' morale stay high? Because if they're not productive and then they have poor employee morale, that affects the workplace. And I think they can also think about what they can do to root out racial intolerance inside the workplace. And that can be issues or things that they can address from the hiring process and to the process for when people are inside the workplace, whether that's through promotions or financial incentives. How can they root out this racial intolerance or just problems with diversity within the workplace? So those are just a couple of things that employers should look at doing.
As we wrap up, Charles, in your view, do you think employers are really going to use this opportunity to make substantive change? Everybody's talking about it, but in terms of real change in the workplace, do you think this is that moment in time where things really happen?
Well, I certainly hope so. I will say that I have seen many companies make statements and put out statements against racial injustice in the workplace and in the community. And if employers really commit to what they have said they will do, I think it can make a change, and I certainly hope it will. Otherwise, it may appear to be a trend which would discourage many employees in the future.
Charles Bush II is an associate at Ice Miller. Charles, thanks for being on the show. Great perspective on addressing race relations in the workplace, certainly issues that are not going to go away anytime soon and are really in the forefront now. Appreciate the time.
Great. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it.